We are here again, and the faces are different. Oh, yes, they are. It's because this is not Kaylin. Oh, no, this is Anna Manley. Anna Manley is an associate with us, a client associate, one of our seniors, who is going to be supporting our clients in becoming parent-friendly schools. I am so glad that she's here. Anyway, so this is our Natter. Remember, it's the end of our day. It really is. We're both exhausted. Anna's got glam because she refuses to look this exhausted on camera.
I'm not sure they'll tell a difference, I'll be honest.
And I don't know. I saw you first thing this morning. There's
This is
definitely a
true. This is
difference.
true. There
Yeah,
is
yeah,
definitely a difference.
yeah, yeah. So what we're here to talk about, obviously, being that it's the first week of term, is the first week of term. But we've had a bit of a theme this week about empathy in our team, haven't we? And about the role of empathy in building relationships. So Anna and I are both teachers, or were teachers. I still feel like a teacher. I still want to tell people I'm a teacher. I was proud of those
Oh,
days.
I do on and off.
I'm
There's plenty of it I miss.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't say it anymore because it was really hard. But I did enjoy my time with the kids. So we have a degree, not a degree, a huge mountainous pile of empathy for teachers right now, right?
Absolutely. It's one of those moments of total brain duality where you return to work after the summer break thinking you can conquer the world, and this is where you're going to do your most amazing work. And after about 30 minutes of inset, reality kicks back in,
You like this already?
and you're both parts of your brain are fighting those two different versions of being a teacher, and reality will, of course, as ever, be somewhere in between the two.
You
Yeah.
have that delusional belief that this year's going to be different, that you are going to crack all your nuts that you need to crack. You're going to be on top of it. You're going to rock your results. There's going to be no conflict.
All marking and
Every
reports
child,
done on time.
yeah, all your children are going to behave like saints and look up to you with utter admiration.
Maybe that's just us. I don't know.
I know,
Maybe
but
we're just deluded.
you start every September on such a high, and then by about the 9th of September, you're like, yeah, when's the next holiday? So yeah, it's, all things together is I think the point though that's worth making in a serious matter is you go in with all of these wonderful, huge, high intentions.
Absolutely.
You're at the purest of your sort of like mission for wanting to be a teacher, and that, and suddenly you've got all the energy from the summer holidays, and you're actually quite glad to be back to get it back into your routine because
Hmm.
we all feel a little bit lost without knowing the bell going off and telling us what to do next.
Yeah.
We get all a little Pavlov's dog. Like, I remember once I was in Sainsbury's and the warehouse. Have I told you this before? The
No.
warehouse bell went off, and I seriously, my stomach fell out my bum. I was so scared that I'd not planned for my next lesson, and I'm like, oh, in Sainsbury's, it's August, it's fine.
I have dreams like that, but I haven't had any real experiences.
Yeah, no, that was yeah. My friend that was with me looked at me and thought me I needed serious support at that point. But what I probably didn't think about, you're very different. You're a very empathetic human being. Is the what happens for the parent who's bringing their child? Because we're secondary school teachers. Well, I am.
Mm.
You worked as a house mistress, didn't you? A house parent.
That
So,
was secondary too. That was 13 to 18. So
but
the
that would have
latter.
been worse, I guess, for the parent dropping them off into another house parent to their other parent.
Well, there was a mix of appreciation and joy at dropping them off, and those who were definitely exactly. I've definitely had parents, mothers drop off daughters and say, "Can you please sort her out?"
Yes, give her teenage help. Intervention needed. Teenage girls. Ugh. Ugh.
We were
Anyway,
both of them.
we were both them, and we fully appreciate what it felt like to be one. But equally, I'd take a class of teenage boys any day.
Well,
Well, they forgive you so much quicker, boys. They
they do.
forget.
They move on. Yeah.
They
But
do.
that's the third part of the triangle, isn't it? We've talked a bit about teaching because that's our experience. We're going to talk about empathy with parents, but then there's the child going through that first week as well. and
It
all of
must have.
those pressures.
I mean, I vaguely, only vaguely though, because it was about 7,000 years ago. Remember the first day of secondary school? Don't remember the first day of primary school, obviously, but secondary school, I was hot. I was like, I'm
Mm.
gonna get beaten up at the next.
Yeah,
Like, just this, everyone was huge, and I was tiny, and it was like, I don't want to make a
absolutely.
mistake that's gonna cause me to have pain for the next 5 years.
I got
It's
told
insane.
off on my first day of
Oh,
secondary school by the
oh,
head
did you?
girl because at lunchtime I wanted to go up the stairs to my form room to pick something up from my bag and you weren't allowed. But obviously I hadn't known that. And she, presumably in her first day of
Oh,
maximum authority,
yes.
was asserting that as I wanted to go up to my bag. um,
Oh
but
my
that stayed
God.
with me. And just as my little minor brag, I then was head girl 5 years
You do the
later.
same thing.
No, absolutely made sure I
Oh,
was the opposite of that,
Anna,
so that
that's
no
the rite of
child.
passage to get to be bossy on the
No.
first.
Oh,
No.
I'm sure I was bossy, but
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine little Anna Manley going, "Grey uniform."
yeah,
So parents, which is what we're
sorry.
here.
Yeah,
The I was reading an article about. Have you ever heard of matrescence and pretrescence?
I have not. Please educate me, teacher.
I shall. It's the. Do you know the journey for? Obviously, we know this. The journey from being a child to an adult is called adolescence. Well, the journey of becoming not a mother to a mother, or not a father to a father, is called matrescence for mother, patrescence for father. Okay, and it's said to have as much psychological impact on you as a human being as the change from child to adult in terms of your worldview, your
Mm,
life experience, etc.
I
And
can imagine.
part of this, the psychology of this I was reading is that when at each life stage you have to go through a period of grief for the stage that went before. So you have your little 3-year-old who suddenly, for the first time, you have to drop off in a class to be given to
Mm,
another adult to look after when they have been your whole world for that 3 years. You
yeah.
might have done babysitters, you might have done nursery, but it was only ever for a couple of hours. Now they're in the care of this other human who's going to have an almost equal parenting role. And there's obviously those moments of pride, and then there's the fear that they're not going to get on, but there's also the grief
Mm,
of that life stage that's gone.
absolutely right. Passing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And nothing
can't.
will ever be the same again.
Exactly. Now they're in a little uniform and they're not a little baby anymore, and you
Well, you
miss.
get that spate on social media, don't you, of photos of children
Oh,
by
little children.
doors in their uniforms. Yeah, absolutely. That's, taken over a lot of my social media this
Oh,
week.
mine too.
Well, the last 2 days for sure.
My sister shared my nephew. You know, my nephew's actually 23 now, so he's about 10 foot tall. It's really strange, but she shared his first school picture alongside what he is now, and it just made me feel so sad. And I'm his auntie. I'm not even his mother.
Mm,
So, but then you get to secondary school, I guess, and now you're dropping them off in what looks like a little suit with the biggest backpack on to be in a world that feels, I don't know, I always remember secondary school as my experience as being really hostile. And I wonder how many parents take their kids and drop them off into what they think is their experience of school,
mm,
which
for
they perceive to
sure.
be hostile.
I think one of the other massive differences, both for pupils and parents, is, that first transition into primary school. Most primary schools are relatively small buildings or environments. Yeah. And then a secondary school is suddenly full of lots more children, most of the time, I appreciate not always, and a massive building that feels rather more intimidating. Yeah.
I mean, going in, I don't know. I mean, this sounds odd coming from a teacher, but whenever I was an examiner as well, and sometimes required me to go into other people's schools to deliver training. And oddly, going in as an adult to another school full of 11 to 18-year-olds was incredibly intimidating.
I can
It,
believe it.
do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's the because I didn't have, well, mostly because I'd lost all my authority. So I suddenly didn't have a presence in amongst all of these people. So if something kicked off, I was useless. Do you know what I mean? But also, I just imagine that as from a parent's perspective, if walking into that building and having, I don't know, it, and then having to send their little person there all by
Well,
themselves.
that's it, isn't it? It's that if I'm intimidated, how must my child be feeling? And schools, lots of schools do such an incredible job of managing transition. I'm sure there are plenty that could do better and would love to do better, and that's, part of what parent-friendly schools can help with. But even if they've done a marvelous job of that transition process from primary into secondary with parents as well as children, it's never going to entirely remove that emotional ugh moment, an intimidating sort of factor. And I mean, aside from anything else, it's the social pressures. And I think both, that's not just as a child, that's as a parent as well. Are you living up? You talk about school gate culture in primary schools, and I appreciate it's a slightly different thing in secondary, but it's, are you providing the right stuff? Are
Oh,
you
I think it's now.
contributing the right things?
I think there's a social media schoolgate culture in secondary
Yeah,
schools now.
yeah,
Because it's always like, has your kid got this? Oh, did you see someone sent their kid like this? Or the parents' WhatsApp group, and the level of pressure to be the parents that are living up to what everyone else is saying in the parents' WhatsApp group. It's just insane. I'm
yeah.
so glad, in some respects, that I'm not in the middle of all of this now. That there is the smartphone, social media,
Mm,
um, that is just making everything so instant because basically the parent can know in the moment that something is difficult happening for their child at school, and of course they want to step in and control. Do you see
mm.
what I mean? But now they
Instinct.
and yeah, because it's hardwired into their cerebral reptilian brain, and I must go defend my youngster. So, and clearly, if the child is able to do the message, then in their mind, the school has already failed because the child is capable of sending them that message in that moment. Do you see what I
Mm,
mean?
hmm.
So you can, I just know, I can just see it from both sides how difficult it gets in this, mode of instant communication. Um, and especially in that first week when everyone's emotions are high, as we've talked about.
Exactly. You can be, it's that opportunity to be reactive rather than processing before responding. And that's for the child, that's for parents, and potentially also for the teacher as well. The minute the teacher gets the backlash of whatever communication might have happened, again, it's, do you pause and process, or are you instantly reactive and on the back foot and defensive potentially? I mean, it's really hard.
It's
And
hard.
everyone is navigating what is a fraught period of the school year this week.
It is. And then
Yeah.
when everyone settles down into the timetable, it gets so much better. And there's something
Mm.
I'd like to bring up here, um, slightly controversially, don't you know? Which is Bridget Phillipson's comments
Yes.
that kicked off a little bit of backlash. But I want to, and I'm going to explain what the backlash was and how I empathise, which is our topic for this, which is it that it was perceived that it lacked a lot of understanding of the
Mm.
complexities of parenting in childhood. And we met the lovely Harriet and Hannah this morning, didn't we,
We
from
did.
Norfolk, who were sweethearts, but we're talking about how ragged they feel because they've had a first week of getting their kids to school,
Yeah.
and how they'd locked themselves out doing the first day of school secondary photo and all of this,
Yeah.
and you could just see it was such a victory that they'd also got to work. So it was so funny, wasn't it? It was just like,
Yeah.
I got to work.
Yes, there are clothes and there are whole sentences happening.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So it's really easy to understand why people got upset, especially when there were children with uh, neurodivergences that make newness and change incredibly challenging.
Absolutely.
Um, and here's the bit, I can't believe I'm agreeing with a politician. Oh
Mm.
my God. Um, the bit that really sits with me incredibly strongly is missing the first week. makes the second week impossible, makes the work
So much harder. So much
insanely
harder.
impossible. It, it feels easy to go, well, we don't have to go back this week. Not much is going to be happening. Everyone's just going to be settled in. Let's go back next week, and think you're giving an empathetic and sensitive response. But now that person's going to be new when everyone else has settled in and settled down,
Made friends,
made friends,
chosen seats in classrooms.
yeah,
Yeah,
have their books already, don't have to have one found for them while everyone else is watching. It's just tiny, tiny things that
absolutely right.
mean being new along with everyone else
Understanding
is
lunchtime routines.
because they're being explicitly explained in that first week.
Yeah,
Even small things like, I don't know if you had to have this, but we had to have the fire bell routine in the
sure.
first day of every school year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's small things like knowing how to queue up on the playground when the fire alarm goes off, which invariably it does in the first week because kids get hyperactive and smack the fire alarm. But so I know, I do understand. It's not so easy as to blanket say, you must get your kids into
Make it
school in the
happen.
first
Yeah.
week. Attendance is important. Get bad attendance now means bad attendance in the future. Sounds brutal and harsh, but bad attendance now does mean bad attendance in the future. And bad attendance generally means that they're never going to feel caught up or part of or understand the quality of those social interactions. Or, and I say this with love, the absolute victory of overcoming something you were scared of.
Absolutely right. There's such reward involved in that. It's one of the biggest, I'm not sure I'm going to pick the right um hormone, but endorphin inducing, maybe it's serotonin, don't know, one of them, oxytocin, whatever.
Let's throw them all in there.
I mean, there's one I've missed, but anyway, um, probably the one to do with exercise because I don't have much to do with that one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
anyway, but yes, there's such reward to claim from that emotionally, hormonally, um, and it's it's not just the reward of having done it, it's the knowledge you can do it that makes it possible again the next time and the next time that you're feeling that way. Um, the other thing I just wanted to say when you were talking about, the emotional wrangling that goes on in that first week and the connections that you might be slower to make because of not being there then when everybody else is finding their people, not always getting it right, but at least starting that whole process and having a go. um, but we talk so much in the world at the moment about how important a sense of belonging is, and often that's what's missing for people who are struggling with going into school. That's where it comes from. It comes from that sense of not feeling they belong, not knowing how to feel part of something. And it's going to make it that step harder to belong when they've removed themselves from the very thing they need and want actually fundamentally to belong to.
Yeah, because all that comes from it is feeling, I guess, long term is a sense of feeling like an outsider. Of,
Exactly, it
and
perpetuates that. Yeah.
yeah. Now my genuine concern is it's going to sound like we're righteous and like my question now, and it's a question to schools, which is, if you're a parent and you've got a little person, and we talked about the feelings of grief and the feelings of fear you channel from your child. It's okay to say good parents would send their kids to school when all the feelings in the world suggest good parents would keep this small child safe.
Mm.
It's true, isn't it? I mean, everything is
Yeah.
counterintuitive in this situation. And broad question is, and you've got like 30 seconds, Anna. What can schools do? What can schools do to help?
So I'm conscious of the way my niece is starting primary school for the first time this year at
Mm.
4, where her first day she's in for 45 minutes. And then
Mm.
the next week she does half days all day. And then she goes in full time the following week. Now that's a royal pain for parents, and probably isn't ideal for schools either. but it's that transition that allows them to do it. And I don't know how secondary schools might manage something like that, but if there were sort of some kind of flexible entryway with people, I don't know is my short answer, but that's what my brain is thinking about. How can we use that kind of model, adapt it usefully for older children who are struggling to come into school?
Or skill
And
building, or even skill building.
yeah,
Do you see what I
absolutely.
mean? Because te you don't get a manual. I watch both of my sisters learn how to be parents and get exceptional at it after you know what I mean. But at first, everything was like, well, how do you do that? Somebody
Mm,
tell me. And looking around for is there a handbook? And there isn't. So maybe there is room for schools to bring in experts to be that handbook, to be supportive. Maybe that's another
yeah,
option.
yeah,
Good.
absolutely. A skills building for pupils as well as parents.
That too. How to the resilience building.
Exactly.
Resilience building, and also the confidence to know that they can handle it, and courage, and all of these
Self-belief
yeah,
is,
the
yeah.
character qualities that we are very much passionate about in
Mm,
developing in people.
yeah.
And on that note, on that bombshell, it's
We've
flown
reached
by.
time.
We've had a natter.
We
You've done a
probably have had
natter.
a natter.
It's been wonderful. So see you next week.
Hope those first weeks have been great.
Yes, me too. I do hope. Good luck.